Shalom, Kal Halalim La Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Waharakhakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of GMS who rule well, who I learned this truth from, and salutations and blessings to you elect out there, starting with 144,000 on down. So this is going into the resurrection of life, aka regeneration, aka reincarnation. Okay, this is something you Christians, you have no idea about. You know, you have no business going into the scriptures, period. But hey, you heathen Christians, right? You Edomites, you Moabites, you Hamites, you guys are just tallying up charges, man. You know, because you're meddling with the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, you know, and you're spreading false doctrine, you know. But the resurrection of the dead, right, was a concept that Israelites in the ancient world understood. They understood about reincarnation. You know, how vastly and how widespread is not, we can't, give you the data, but we do know there are multiple examples of the resurrection of the dead being mentioned. This is Acts 24:10. The governor then mentioned for Paul to speak. This is in the NLT. Paul said, I know, sir, that you have been a judge of Israelite affairs for many years, so I gladly present my defense before you. You can quickly discover that I arrived in Jerusalem no more than 12 days ago to worship at the temple. My accusers never found me arguing with anyone in the temple, nor stirring up a riot in any synagogue or on the streets of the city. These men cannot prove the things that they accuse me of doing, but I admit that I follow the way which they call a cult. And that's what these people call us. Oh, you're in a cult. You know, it says, I worship the Most High power of our ancestors, and I firmly believe in the Israelite law and everything written in the prophets. I have the same hope in the Most High that these men have, that he will raise both the righteous and the unrighteous. Now, in the KJV, verse 15, it says, and have hope toward the Most High, which they themselves also allow, that there shall be a resurrection of the dead, both of the just and unjust, you know. And again, the inner secret is that we spirits, when they pass, when they transition, they go into the heavens, right? They stay there for a time and then they come back down in different bodies, you know. But there's also the meaning of, the resurrection of the dead, of, as he said, the just and unjust. So everyone here, majority of people here, they're here for judgment. Okay, and then the resurrection to life, right? The resurrection of the dead unto life, or resurrection of the dead unto damnation, depending on who you are, which lot you fit into. Okay, so Paul understood this. Now let's go real quick to the book of John 9:1. Slakia. I don't know. Yeah. It says John 9:1. And as Yahushua passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Now, if you're a fresh person, like you again, I'm going to pinpoint you Christians, and some of you Israelites too, you don't believe in reincarnation. But he's a fresh soul, right? He's a fresh spirit. He's a baby. What do you mean he sinned? Did he sin in his mother's womb when he was there for 9 months? And then why did they mention his parents, right? So again, this was a common understanding if you look into this about reincarnation, but this specific example was neither, right? Yahushua answered, verse 3, neither had this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of the Most High should be made manifest in him. And I'm going to back it up. How does the Most High know you? If you're born, how do you sin? You know, how would they mean that? You have to make it make sense. So let's get this. This is in the book of Jeremiah 1:5. It says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. So before you were fashioned in your mother's womb, he knew you. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Right? NLT says, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and anointed you as my prophet to the nations. So you were in your lot. You know? Now let's get another example in the book of John 11 and 11. Now this is Mary and Martha, two sisters, and their brother Lazarus. I'm going to start at verse 11. KJV, it says, These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. Yahushua, howbeit Yahushua spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. Then said Yahushua unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent that ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. Now let's jump down to verse 20. Then Martha, as soon as he heard, or as she heard that Yahushua was coming, went and met him, but Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Yahushua, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of the Most High will give it thee. Yahushua saith unto her, Thy brother shall rise again. Now check this. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day. What is the last day? The last days, which we're in right now. You know? But Yahushua, when you read down, he raised them up at that moment, but it also applies to that resurrection. You know, again, everyone who's here right now, okay, you're not perished, you're living, okay? You're most likely here for damnation, for judgment. And then the ones of the small remnant who's to be delivered, that is the resurrection to life. Okay, but resurrection of the dead simply just means reborn. You know, just like reincarnation. What is reincarnation? Re means again or back into. Incarnate, carnate is flesh, carnal, right? So back into the flesh, or back in the flesh. Your body is just a set of clothing for your spirit, if you will, and you keep coming back. That energy doesn't die. Now Job said the same thing. Let's get that scripture. My Redeemer. Job 19 and 25. For I know that my Redeemer liveth. He's speaking about Yahushua, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. Right? And though after my skin worms destroy this body, meaning this physical body Job is in, his spirit is in there though. Yet in my flesh shall I see the Most High. Okay? At the last days, right? The latter days, stand at the latter day, the last days is the same thing. You know? As he said. Right? Job 32 and 18, for I am full of matter. Right? The spirit within me constraineth me. Okay? Let's look up this word matter. Word, speech, utterance, malal. Okay? So let me go to the book of 2 Maccabees 12 and 40. Okay, GNT. Now this is after a slaughter of the Israelites. It says, I'll start at 39, 12 and 39. 2 Maccabees 12:39. By the following day it was urgent that they gather up the bodies of the men who had been killed in battle and bury them in their family tombs. But on each of the dead, hidden under their clothes, they found small images of the gods worshipped in Jamnia, which the law forbids Jews to wear. Everyone then knew why these men had been killed. See, so they were committing idolatry. It could have been an amulet, it could have been necklaces with engravings or idols. Okay. Verse 41, so they praised the ways of the Lord, the just judge, who reveals what is hidden. And they begged him, right? Now check this. And they begged him that this sin might be completely blotted out. Just like King David said, blot out my iniquity. Okay. Then Judas, that great man, urged the people to keep away from sin because they had seen for themselves what had happened to those men who had sinned. And pretty much they were committing idolatry, and they were rolling with the Maccabees, with Judas, fighting with him. And they kept those, whatever it was, like I said, an amulet, you know, whatever it was under their clothing, though. Could have been necklaces, and they maybe thought it was for good luck. They were committing idolatry, man. That's heavy, right? Now check this. It says, verse 43, he also took up a collection from all his men, totaling about 4 pounds of silver, and sent it to Jerusalem to provide for a sin offering. Judas did this noble thing because he believed in the resurrection of the dead. Same thing, regeneration, reincarnation. Everybody comes back. Okay? If he had not believed that the dead would be raised, it would have been foolish and useless to pray for them. And again, he's not really praying like, oh, that's a dead Israelite, I'm going to pray for him in heaven or for his soul. He's just saying, look, listen, everybody has a track record. Everybody has a fucking track record. You may be paying for sins you did last lifetime, 2, 3, 4 lifetimes ago. There's a tally on everybody. So he's saying, Lord, please just blot this out, blot out this iniquity. And that's right, that's righteous, man. He had a love for these men. He fought with them, so it makes sense. But it's not like he's praying to dead Israelites. He's just saying, yo, not yo, but it's like Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, just, not Yahweh Shai back then, but, he's praying to the Most High, Yahweh, pretty much saying, blot out this transgression for them on their tally, pretty much. 45, in his firm and devout conviction that all of the Most High's faithful people would receive a wonderful reward. See? Which is right now resurrection unto life. Even if you die in elect, you get your head chopped off, for rejecting the mark of the beast. You're going to still be raised up. Isn't that interesting? Some brothers are, we come back in this lifetime that we're in, we're all living, or some of us are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, but we came back. That's the resurrection of the dead. Now it's time to find out, are we here for the resurrection of unto life or unto damnation? Okay, many are called, few are chosen. And then again, even if you perish, right? Even if you were resurrected unto, you were part of the resurrection of the dead, and you were beheaded, you will still be resurrected a second time. It says, in his firm and devout conviction that all of the Most High's faithful people would receive a wonderful reward, Judas made provision for a sin offering to set free from their sin those who had died. See? Now let's go to 2nd Ezra 2 and 16. It says, and those that be dead will I raise up again from their places and bring them out of the graves, for I have known my name in Israel. And that's spiritual. We just like Ezekiel, the valley of the dry bones, that's exactly what it's going into as well. That's a resurrection of the dead. Now you come back in your lot, and then you're spiritually raised up as an Israelite. You have to wake up. As we say, you have to come out of the world, because the majority of us were not born Israelites. We found the truth through various times in our lives. Fear not, thou mother of the children, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord. For thy help will I send my servants. This is a mistranslation. It's Isaiah, not Esau. Not Esau. Esau and Jeremiah, after whose counsel I have sanctified and prepared for thee 12 trees laden with diverse fruits, and as many fountains flowing with milk and honey, and 7 mighty mountains whereupon there grow roses and lilies, whereby I will fill thy children with joy. Do right to the widow, judge for the fatherless, give to the poor, defend the orphan, clothe the naked, heal the broken and the weak. Laugh not a lame man to scorn, defend the maimed, and let the blind man come into the sight of my clearness. This is spiritual, right? We were blind in the world, completely bugged out. Keep the old and young within thy walls. Wheresoever thou findest the dead, take them and bury them, and I will give thee the first place in my resurrection. See? And let's go to the book of Revelation. This is one of my favorite scriptures. Revelations 11 and 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Who is this? Who are these dead bodies? The Israelites. Majority is really, of course, the elect, but I'm just saying people that even came in the truth and then fell out. But pretty much they're dead bodies, meaning we didn't know who the hell we were. We were spiritually dead. And it's interesting when you look up this word, it goes into that. Let's get this word.
Strong's G 4430. Doma.
Toma, which means a fall, downfall, metaphor, a failure, defeat, calamity, lapse into sin, that which is fallen, like Nephilim, Napoleon, the fallen body of one dead or slain, a corpse. Okay? A lifeless body doesn't necessarily mean literally a lifeless body. Spiritually, you're a zombie. What is life? Yahweh Shai. Okay? He's a resurrection unto life. Okay? Life is these scriptures, man. The breath of the Most High, the inspiration. It says, verse 9, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, going from 1619, around 1620, to around the late 60s, 69 to 70, when Abba Bivens, okay, came on the scene, who we believe was Elijah in the book of Malachi 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about he shall turn the hearts of the sons unto the fathers and the fathers unto the sons, pretty much, right? Pretty much waking up, okay, from this dead state, right? And that's what it means by dead bodies. So we were spiritually dead. Just like, again, going into Ezekiel's valley, the valley of the dry bones. Right? Ezekiel said, Lord, can these bones live? Because he's seen Jake bug the hell out, man. Okay. Verse 10, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, because we were completely gone. We were under their boot. You know, it says that they weared out the saints of the Most High. Just like you got them 10-year-old shoes that are worn out, you know, they worn out the saints of the Most High. The elect kept coming back, but not into the truth for however many lifetimes, until this present time that we're here. You know, this is it. We woke up, right? And shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. That breath of life, man. Okay, just the same way he breathed into Adam the law, statutes, and commandments, how to serve him. So the Most High, the spirit of life, the Ruach HaKodesh, entered into Abba Bivens and the great men, you know, and our apostles, Apostle Tahar and Apostle Gabar on down, you know, the bishops, the elders, you know, and they stood upon their feet, man. Okay, they became a living soul just like Adam. All right, now, real quick, John 11. Did I read John 11? Yeah. Khan, I did. Okay, Salakia. So that was it pretty much. I hope you're edified with that. Ka halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Wahabrachakudash. Shalom.